All right, I appreciate everyone for coming out tonight. We always have these meetings the third Tuesday of every month. This is our first meeting here at Nicola's. We do appreciate Nicola's allowing us to use their conference room for free. So even though the meeting is free, please order something off the menu to show our appreciation to Nicola's and our hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were here 3 months ago, you saw what was perhaps our best meeting that we've had in the 2 years that we've been doing these, because we had Mr. John Graham, who is probably the most prolific house flipper in the metropolitan Detroit area. Well, John volunteered to come back and talk to us again and enlighten us some more. And today he's going to tell us exactly how he structures his calendar to be able to flip 20 plus houses per month, each and every month. So without further ado, Mr. John Graham.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
All right, what are you guys gonna eat? Because I'm like Chris Rock, I always want one rib. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about a little bit how I structure every single day for myself. So you guys can kind of get an understanding of what it takes, and also so you can get some information on how to structure your days. So they're very, fruitful in what you're trying to do. All right, there are people in the room that are wholesalers. All right, we got a couple wholesalers. Do we have people in the room that are looking to do like rental properties? Anybody who wants to flip houses? All right, so everybody here has an agenda of what they need to do to go ahead and do what they need to do. All right. Basically, to just put it in a very simplistic way, is that if you can go into every single day and the amount of time you spend to work, let's just say it's just to make it round numbers, let's say you work 10 hours a day, okay, which is a lot. But if you're able to spend 80% of that to prospect, to do what you need to do, whether it's finding houses to wholesale, finding houses to flip, looking for rental houses, it's prospecting. That's really what it is. So if you can spend 80% of your workday prospecting, everything will work out right. And that's the most simplistic way I can tell you on how I do what I do, is that I actually do that every single day. So my preparation for that is a little bit crazy. I'm gonna tell you what it is. So I'm gonna tell you like the evening, like what I start doing in the evening. So in the evening, I typically start working out right around like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And the reason why I do that is because that's when I like to sit down and just eat. Like, oh, I worked hard today. I deserve to eat. And I just eat whatever's laying around, and I really don't want to do that because that doesn't keep me in shape well. So I keep myself occupied so I don't do that. You can always justify eating or justify anything. I always say the best salesperson is yourself. You can sell yourself into something, you can sell yourself out of something. So that's why I do that. So I work out. Then after I'm done working out, which is typically like 10, 11 o'clock at night, then I prepare my meals for the next day. So I don't have to think about that. I don't want to go, okay, what's the closest restaurant? Who can I eat with? What do I order? No, I don't want to do none of that because it wastes time. I don't want to be known for the guy that, oh man, I could go out to lunch with this cat every single day. That's not what I wanted to be known as. I want to be known as the guy that worked real hard, did real well, accomplished a lot, did good for his family. And I didn't want to do that and say I was going out to lunch or thinking about lunch or who I was going to eat with and what the closest restaurant was. So I always prepare a meal for me and my driver too as well. So he doesn't have to stop. So whenever we get a moment, we just go in our lunch bags and eat. So that saves a lot of time through my day, and that's why I do that. So I can prospect more. Plus, my prospecting is a little bit different than a typical person's prospecting. Because of the amount of business I do, it's all directed towards me. It's more of me just trying to keep up. But you guys aren't in that situation where it's just coming to you. You guys got to reach out. And when I say prospecting, it means really reaching out. Either calling, texting, messaging, emailing, or just being face-to-face physically with someone. And so, like, if you can do that for minimal of, like, 5 to 6 hours a day, I'm going to tell you you're going to meet all your goals. I always say this is that go ahead, sir.
I just got a quick question.
If you want to, I gotta repeat your question, but go ahead.
No, I hate to interrupt so soon, but when you say 5 to 6 hours a day, what if you don't actually have that 5 to 6 hours a day? Can you hire a virtual assistant to do the same thing, or?
I would tell you this: do you work another job?
I have a clinic, so yeah, I'm busy.
Okay. How much time can you spend, like, actually doing, like, real estate?
I'm sure at least 3 to 4 hours a day.
Okay. If you can spend 3 to 4 hours a day, then I need 80% of that to be prospecting. And so you have to prepare it. You just can't go, I'm just gonna you gotta have your list ready. You gotta have door knocking ready. You gotta have something where you can keep yourself occupied to really prospect. And that's hard. And so I'm gonna keep on going through my day so you can kind of understand what I do to get it to work that way. All right, and what you guys might have to do to get it to work that way. All right. So then I'm all done making my meals. Okay, it's typically around 11:30 at night, and I book everything through my texts. A lot of people use emails. I use text, and the reason why I use text is that my staff actually monitors my emails. So I don't have two separate things I have to check. Or some people have multiple emails too, where you gotta check 2 or 3 emails. Some people have 2 phones. You gotta take, 2 phones and check 2 texts. I just have my 1 phone, and I do all the booking of all my appointments, and all my contacts are through my phone. So it makes it real simple for me then at 11:30 at night. And what I do is I take my phone, and I have everybody that wants to make an appointment with me, wants to send me a house, because again, I buy and sell houses. So if you get in contact with me, it's going to be through my phone, and I'm going to get all the pictures and videos through my phone. I'm going to get all the information that I need through my phone. All the appointments that you book for me are through my phone. So then I sit down with my phone, and it usually takes me like a half an hour to about 40 minutes to go through my phone, write everything down, write the properties down, write the times down, write that I need to comp all these properties out. So typically through my phone on a daily basis, I have about at least 20 to 25, properties that either one, I got them booked up for the next day or the following days, or I actually have them where I need to comp them out and get back with the people to say, I think I can get this one to work or not work. So anytime you send me a house, I'm definitely comping it out, and I'm definitely calling back about it. What I find is a lot of people in my position where they're buying a lot of houses, and they have a lot of people contacting them and sending them things. And I think the wholesalers can, really account for this, is that when you go ahead and send out a house to somebody, sometimes you just never get a reply back. Is that true? Like, you don't even know if they even seen it. Like, you don't know if they opened the email, looked at your text. And so I purposely make sure I get back with everyone that contacts me. And that's a part of being organized, and it's a part of prospecting. Because if I have people that are looking for houses, they're the people I want to be in constant contact with all day long. And if you blow them off and don't call them back, you think that they might give up soon on giving you properties.
Yep.
And you never know what the next property that may give you might be the really good deal. And you happen to just blow off your other 5 crappy properties that you got in Detroit, but to them, you gotta understand, those properties are super important to those people. That's what they're trying to work on and make money on. So at least I have the decency to call everybody back and say, hey, look, unfortunately, this one just doesn't work for me. And these are the reasons why. But if you got anything else, I want to look at it, and I keep them in the loop instead of getting them outside of a loop where they give up on me. Because a lot of, like I say, there's a lot of people where you're just like, I know this guy buys houses. I know he does. But I can't get this guy to ever reply back to me. And then so you quit at a point. You give up at a point. You don't want to deal with that person. And that's what I try to do. So it's a part of my prospecting all day long. So anytime somebody gives me something, and sometimes, like a lot of the wholesalers, they even ask me for guidance. They're like, hey, what do you think? And I'm willing to tell them, I already researched it, I think I account for this, I saw what the pictures look like. The property's not necessarily for me, but I think you're gonna be able to sell it on the open market for this. So I think you got it at a good enough price, or look, you just don't got it at a good enough price. I can't do anything with this, and I don't think anybody else can do anything with this. So at least I'm telling them and directing them and guiding them, so that way they call me back. Because I offer a couple things. I offer saying like, look, I research everything, and also that I can help you because this is what I think. And I never tell them, like, hey, look, this is hopeless. I just say it's going to be challenging. It's going to be hard. Or you lock this up at the right number, you're going to be able to get rid of this very easily, I think. It's just not the right property for me. If it's the right property for me, I'm all over it. I'm going there to check it out, and I'm going to bid on it immediately after I leave because I already got it comped out prior. Okay, we'll go back to my night again. So I went through all my texts, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Now it's about midnight. And there's a reason why I do all this too. And there's a reason why I do it late at night. So the next thing I do after that is I go through the multi-list. And I do a very broad search. So I search in Macomb, Oakland, Wayne County. Every single house that was listed, every single house that went back on the market, every single house that had a price change that day. And the only way I can search that day fully is by me doing it after midnight. Do you have a question?
What search engine are you using?
I use RealComp as my search engine. All right, so the reason why I do it at midnight again is that I get that full day. If I did it at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna miss 2 hours because I can't search that full day again. I'd have to go back again. You can't search just the last 2 hours. You can only search the day, not the time frame, which is crazy because with today's technology, it should be better, but the MLS system is a very old, chaotic, thing. So that's why I do it at midnight, so I get that full day search. So I search for every house or condo that's new on the market, price change, back on the market that day. In a typical spring and summer day, it's about 500. So I look at 500 properties through the MLS to see which ones are good. And also the ones that come back up on the market because I might have looked at them before. So then I put on my list to my assistant, hey, look, at bid again on this thing again. Or if it's something that I want to see, I got my schedule right there and a whole bunch of stuff I wrote down, I put it in the schedule. All right? So that takes me, and I know it sounds crazy, how long do you think it takes me to search through 500 houses is the question, to see what are the good deals out of these 500 in 3 counties?
An hour and a half.
Hours, 4 hours.
About a half an hour, tops. And that's 500. So it's because I know every single area in those 3 counties like the back of my hand. It's like you guys know where you live. If something came up that was a good deal, you're gonna know right away. You're gonna be like, oh my God, that's a good deal. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of key things I look at. It's usually just price, area, price, area, price, area. And then when I see a low price for that area, then I start looking at the other key factors, which is, does it have a basement, garage, you know what I mean? Things like that. And you're looking through the MLS, so a lot of times they have pictures too, and if I have to key on any of that, then I look at the pictures too as well. But usually it's just price, area, then basement, garage, and I can tell immediately if it's a good deal or not. So then I add those to the list too as well for the following day. Or, because there's a lot of listings called coming soons, then I figure out what days they are going to be available to show. And a lot of times I try to sneak into those things too as well. Like if it says coming soon and they say it's, like tonight, and they say they can only show it on Saturday, I make sure I put it on my list for tomorrow. So I call the agent, I'm just like, hey, happen to be in the area, and I can look at this place, and I'm an investor, and I don't care about commission. If you get me in here, I'll let you have both sides of it. Oh man, they get real motivated to get me through there. And so if I get through there then, then I'm one of the few people that got through because I made the calls and they let me in, and there's a good possibility I can get that house because no one else looked at it too. So that's one of the key things that I do, and it's just something else I put on the list. So I just gave you a real helpful thing too as well to be able to do something that I do, you know, that can get you houses too as well. All right, so now we're talking about, it's like, I don't know, say 12:30, 12:40 at night, all right? Slightly late for most of you, but that's just how I function. So then after that, what I do is I take that entire list, and then I have time frames with the people that text me all the times, and then I have the stuff that's through the MLS, and then I have the stuff that I'm going to comp out the next day, and I start really looking at it a little bit harder, and I'm like, this looks like a good deal. So I start putting the time frames right next to a wall. So I just start lining up all the times for my following day or the following days in the future if they're lined up for that. Like some people will go like, hey, Friday, I can get you in that place at 3:30. Okay, I put it on my calendar for 3:30 that day. But then I just put all the dates down for that following day. My typical day, I look at 10 plus properties every single day, and I schedule it all myself, all right? So then I put all those dates down. And then the next thing I do is that I take a picture of that list with all the time frames on it, because it's all handwritten, okay? I then send it to my assistant, and then the following morning, when I wake up right at 8 o'clock, because I typically, you know, I'm in my bed somewhere around like 1-ish, okay? So after that, you know, I may, you know, watch a couple skateboard videos because I like skateboarding, whatever came out that day, and then I just go to sleep. And I'm usually exhausted, you know, because you've seen how much I'm doing later part of my day. That's another reason I like doing all that stuff, because I did zonk out. You know what I mean? And I got my whole schedule already prepared. So do you think I have where a lot of people have where, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to be doing, oh, and then and this, and you keep on recycling your day before you go to sleep and you can't sleep? Oh man, mine's right there. It's done. 100% done. I can just forget about it. You know what I mean? I got it all written down. It's all got the times on it. It's got all the phone numbers I got to contact on it. Everything's there. So it makes me settle down at night, so then I can sleep, because I know it's all done. And I don't have to keep on rehashing things out. You know? And even when I do the list, I do a lot of thinking. You know, I'm like thinking about, okay, what could I add to my agenda? What could I put on here? Who should I contact? Who should I call back? What didn't I do the previous day? And I look at that list to make sure I hit everybody, to make sure I didn't skip anything. So I also put that on the list too as well. So I got everything down. Got a lot of times on there. Send it out to my assistant. So then when I wake up at 8 o'clock, I got an iPad. She sends me an email. It's all gridded out. So everything I have is all gridded out for when the first appointment, all the way to the last appointment, and then everything underneath that of what I still, you know, want to contact back, all the people that gave me properties, all right? It's got all the phone numbers, it's got lock boxes, it's got my contacts, it's all in that grid. And then the other thing she does is she takes the listing, or old listing, or public records, and has it on my iPad where I got a sheet per house. And then what I do is I download all that to my iPad to something called Good Notes. And what Good Notes are is so I actually can write right on that listing. All right? So I download it, it's 8:05. And I'm telling you, this is like, I'm like a drill sergeant with myself. All right? So it's 8:05. And then I have now 25 minutes or so to comp out like 20 or 30 properties. Now, most people are be lucky if they even comp out something in 10 minutes. I'm doing stuff in minutes, you know, like, so I comp everything out, and I gotta make sure these are right, because guess what I'm doing with these houses when I go and look at them right after I'm done? What do, you think? I'm offering on it. So could I make a mistake on comping out stuff, you think? No, I don't wanna do that. So I wanna make sure they're correct, but I work at a very fast pace. I do it every single day. So I'm comping out like 200 some properties, you know, a week. So I've been doing it for decades. So I have a really high skill level. I even tell appraisers, I comped out way more than you guys have ever even touched. You know, so I do that from basically 8:05 to about like 8, maybe 35, 8:40. All right, so I got all those sheets. So then and the reason I'm scrolling like that, that's how I scroll through them. So then I write the after repaired value. So it's funny, like I just went to this one seminar where he's doing like how to flip like 101 type of a class, all right? And he always comes to me and he looks at me, he goes, John, what's the most important number you ever want to put on a house? What do you think the most important number to put on a house? Anybody got an answer? The most important number you put on a house is the after repaired value. If you're flipping something, it's the after repaired value, all right? Because if you know that number, you have a good bearing of what you can sell it for. You can always take a stab at a rehab. I mean, rehabs are super important numbers too. I'm not saying they're not. But yeah, that would be the second most important number. And the third most important number would be your bid. You know, what you're bidding on it. Because, you know, if you got the rehab, you got the after repair value, then you should kind of know where you need to bid at it. So I got that after repaired value. Go ahead, sir.
Is there like a set profit margin that you need to know if it's worth it or not? Like 20% or?
No, I really don't do that because you got to take into account much more than just pure formulas. There's a good way of like explaining it is that, here's a great example. So I have a house that I just purchased for 17 grand in Southern Warren. And I know I can sell it probably somewhere mid-20s. And I probably can do it within weeks. That margin's ridiculous, isn't it? You know, I'm probably gonna make, let's say 10 grand on a $17,000 investment. That percentage is ridiculous in 1 month. You know what I mean? That's crazy. So I can't say that's the right percentage because if I did it where I did the percentages like you're talking about, like 20%, that means if I sold it for 21,000 or 20,000, it's a good deal. Would you guys ever buy something for 17 that you could sell for 20? No, that don't make a lot of sense now, does it? You know, but if you're making like, on that one, even if you made like 5 or 6 grand, you know, pretty quickly, it's probably worthwhile. So that's why the percentages sometimes don't tell the whole story. You know, but if you take like even something really expensive, that's another one that just won't fit. You know, if you have this large sum of money out there and you have this large rehab and then you have a small amount of buyers because it's so high of a sales price and now you have longer market time, don't you think the margin for profit on that should be like really big, right? You know, and you got to understand something about myself is that I'm doing 100+ flips every second of my life. All right, so I have to see what that amount of money is on my normal houses that I flip and what it would be for that one, and that's really what my profit should be, or I shouldn't do that property because it doesn't make a lot of sense. So like let's take that big property. Let's say it's $500,000, okay? Let's say after I'm done, it's worth $1 million. I got to put $250 into it. That sounds great, doesn't it? All right. So I'm going to make $250,000 on a $750,000 investment. All right. But let's take it in my perspective because I do so many houses and I have so much opportunity. I can do, and you got to understand that house is going to take twice as long to sell unless I'm lucky. So let's say it's a year because it's going to take me a longer time to renovate it, right? My renovation's gigantic. Now I'm in $1 million price range and there's fewer buyers for that. So let's just say it's a year. And that's probably even getting to a point where it's maybe kind of tight. I mean, $250,000 on $750,000 I got out there. And I'm not taking averages because I want to have that 750 out there at all times, right? When I first started, I only got 500. You know, I got to work my way up to the 750. So really the average is probably going to be more like 675 on the average of the whole year. Okay? Kind of understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All right. Because I won't have that 750 out the whole entire year, right? So let's say it's even 675. Let's say 700 to make it a round number. But here's the thing is, I can go and buy 7 houses at $100,000. Or say even $80,000. And I make $20,000 and I can double that and do it twice. Is that up to $250,000? That right there, if I just calculate it out properly, it's $280,000. And I don't have the risk of having all my eggs in one basket. I actually made more on doing smaller properties and less risk. A lot less risk, because I know I can get rid of those really quickly, because first-time home buyers will buy those up like crazy. Let me state another fact too as well, is that first-time home buyer houses, if you're flipping or even wholesaling, are the most important properties to key on. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. The reason why is, in every single market across the United States, that's 60%, sometimes even higher, depending on markets, especially when the interest rates drop, it gets almost up to 70, are first-time home buyers. So you're talking about the entire buying pool, always more than half of it are first-time home buyers. So if you have a house that you renovated, got done, want to wholesale out, that's a first-time home buyer type house, is it going to be easy to sell it? Is it going to be easy to wholesale it?
Yes.
Even if you're renting it, is it going to be easy to rent?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it is. So always keep that in mind when you're buying properties. If you get them more time to the first-time home buyers, if you get properties that after the repair values are done, they're 150 to 250, most likely you're going to have an instantaneous sale. It's not going to be that hard, because there's a lot of buyers in those price ranges for those houses. All right, you start getting into the higher ones, you know what I mean? You want to make sure it's a little bit better deal. All right, so now it's about 835, 840. All right, and the next thing I do is then I go to my inventory. All right, the houses that I currently have for sale, and then I go right to the people that have shown it the previous day. All right, and then I call them. And if I can't get a hold of them by a call, then I text them. The reason why I want to do this is, one, I want to sell my houses, and if I can work out anything out with that agent, I'm always willing to try to do that. All right. The other thing I do is I say to every one of those agents, I buy houses. I don't care about the commissions. Let me know if you got something. It's another way to prospect, guys. You know, it's, again, for me, it's very natural, because they're showing my houses. I'm not like going out of my way. They did something that I can actually contact them about. But why not make it twofold? One, want to sell my own house? Let's get a deal done so I can flip something. And two, do you got another one for me? And if you do, let me know, and I sell the hell out of myself. Okay? So now it's about 9 o'clock. Then I eat, dress, brush my teeth. Driver luckily lives in my house with me. Get in the car and start driving around, look at all the houses that I have in that agenda. I have that list of wholesalers too, so in between, I just start calling them up and I tell them what I think about their house, try to line it up for the next couple days and do that. And then in addition, after I look at every single house, then I call the contact back, whether it's a listing agent, wholesaler. Sometimes the wholesalers are there at the property and I can talk directly to them. And then I'm doing that all day. So I'm prospecting all day long. And that doesn't stop the people giving me new addresses. So luckily I got a driver, sit in the back of the car with my iPad, and I just start working off the MLS. I start researching it. I'm like, okay, this seems like a good deal. I want to get on this one. Maybe I can just wedge it in today. Typically I go into every single day, and I probably add at least minimal 3 to 5 appointments. Most people can't do that. Most people are so scrambled that they can't do it because they don't have things prepared like I do. Do I have to worry about lunch, guys?
Nope.
All right? Do I have to worry about what I'm doing at any particular time during my day? Do I know?
Yeah.
All right? And that's why when I get into my day, believe me, people try to scramble you all day long. And I'm ready for it. I know it's going to happen. I know they're going to contact me. I want them to contact me, and I want to be as efficient and effective as possible of wedging in wherever I can fit those houses in my schedule if I think they're hot. If they're good houses, how fast do you need to look at them? Fast as you can. Because if you don't look, somebody else will. And that's why I like keeping in touch with my wholesalers. Like, I probably have at least minimal 30 wholesalers that will call me and only me first because I get there fast, I reply back. You know, I do what they want me to do. So that's another reason why I prepare so well, is I know I'm going to get blasted apart. And I'm not gonna let anybody blast me apart, I'm ready. Most people in the room, you guys do not prepare well enough for your next day. And because of that, when you get into your day, you're pulled in so many different directions, and you let that be your day. All right? I do the opposite. I want to get my day and control it. All right? And that's what most people want in life. Sorry, Joey. All right? Most people want that in life, is they want that control. And people, like, they were just like, how do they do it? Because you see these guys on TV, and they're like, you can tell these guys aren't working too hard, right? And you can kind of tell they're making a lot of money, correct? All right? And it's because they lined everything up where they can do what they want to do because it's under control. Guess who the first person you have to control before you can control anybody else? That's right. And I always tell people this, especially realtors, when I can tell they're doing enough business where they need somebody to help them. I always tell them, most likely you're going to fail your employee if you're not organized. If you can't organize yourself, it's almost next to impossible to organize another. And that's one of the biggest problems. So, like, if you want to excel in anything you do and gain employees and things like that, you have to control yourself well enough, to organize yourself well enough, to be able to get somebody by your side that you can organize them. And then you have to duplicate it numerous times after that. And typically, the employees sometimes don't work. It's usually the employer's fault, not the employee's fault. And you gotta learn from it, and then you just hire somebody else. All right? And we can maybe get into that, a whole nother subject about getting people to work for you know, everybody here, and how challenging and difficult that is, and what you have to do for that too as well. All right, so that's basically me, my all day, and I basically just work from that 8 o'clock all the way up to about 5. I kind of book myself solid. I'm on the phone constantly. I mean, I take phone calls, you know, that happen, but I'm not out there physically out there in the field anymore. I get it all done between those hours. All right? And typically everybody looks at houses during those hours, especially when, you know, you got daylight savings time and it's dark as hell, you know, already by 5, and you can't look at a house anyways properly. So that's basically my day, and then it starts back up late at night. So even when I'm done here, I only got like maybe like just driving back, maybe an hour of like, maybe I'll just shoot baskets or something like that, and then I'm back to my grind again. You know, but I actually like it. Like, if I really wanted to, I could have everything done by someone else, because you can see how structured I am. You know what I mean? Like, I can have all those texts still come to my phone, I could still make that route out, and I can hand it to somebody else to do. And really, even if I wanted to do that myself, and just sit in a room and have them shoot pictures of videos of every single house that they go through, I could review that in an hour. I don't need work 1 hour a day if I really wanted to. I just enjoy getting out there and running around and looking at real estate and putting deals together. That's what makes me tick, you know. But me working with like clientele, you know, running around all evening, you know, especially if you got realtors in the room, that's a difficult gig, and I did that for a very long time. And that's why I like doing this for myself, because I can control it, because it's me. It's very hard to control a normal person out there that just wants to see houses or sell a house. Typically, they're going to want you to work all evening. So I got out of that, and that's why I have my own business, do what I do, so I don't have to work necessarily for clientele. Other than Michael right here. Yeah, I got him. He's going to list his properties with me every once in a while, and we'll get them sold.
Definitely.
Yeah, go ahead. The question is what do I look for to flip homes? And again, it's not going to be like a real easy answer, but let's take a real typical house, okay? Something that, say you buy for 100, okay? And I put, say, 40 into it, I want to be able to sell that house for around 180, all right? So that's a very, very typical numbers. Like that's the most typical numbers I could probably work on right now. You know, a nice like brick ranch and, you know, any of the 3 counties, you know, that, you know, you can pick it up for around 100 and do the $40,000 of rehab, because that's about a month and a half, you know, kind of rehab. And then have it up and be able to get it sold within like, say, 5 months, sold and closed in 5 months. So that's a typical type of a flip. So that's the most typical type, but I look at anything. And my answer to most people is when they ask me, what is your buy box? You know, because it's a typical thing to ask somebody, right? What's your buy box? My answer is, I like to make money. That's my answer. And I like to buy in the Tri-County area. So I like to buy in Macomb, Oakland, Wayne. And I'll buy on the outskirts, like if somebody gives me something, I've done a lot of deals with them and I want to try to make it work, and you know what I mean? And I'll just make it work if I can. Because then and the other thing is, like, if I can like have the wholesalers come to me because I just am trying to make deals work all the time, that's very important, because they keep on coming to you then, because they know you take this very seriously, you know? So, you know, that's kind of the typical ones, but then, you know, you have ones that are really a little bit more pricier or need much more rehab. And when you get those, I just need the spreads to be larger. And sometimes I'll get ones that are simple and easy. Like I'm doing one that's in Detroit, and if I told you like what I bought it for and what I'm, you know, doing with it, you might not say it's so great, but I bought one right around like 100, okay? It's probably only worth like 155. So like you guys are like, whoa, that doesn't seem right? Does that seem wrong? But I only need 10 grand worth of work. And how fast do you think I can get 10 grand worth of work done? You know, real fast, real quick. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it took me, you know, weeks to get it done. You know what I mean? You know, I did a lot of painting in cabinets. I already had granite in there, put a nice backsplash in there, you know, threw a floor in there, and I'm basically out. You know what I mean? I don't have to do much more than that. So if you look at something like that, where I got the property done within 1 month, you know, and now I got, you know, a property that I could possibly make like still $30,000 on, it's not that bad. So we'll take the numbers again. We got 100, right? 100 purchase, all right? We got 10 grand of rehab, and you gotta remember how fast that can get done so I can get that property back up again, all right? And then you got the real estate cost on that, all right? So let's just add on another like 7, 8 grand. Okay, let's say I'm all in on this place at about like let's just say 120, right? All right, just gotta go a little bit higher. And I sell for 155, does that sound all right now? But it didn't sound all right in the beginning. So that's why I'm saying I really analyze a lot of things. I analyze the time frame, how much the rehab is. Like, I look at if the house isn't so square, like it's added on numerous times. And I'm like, oh man, this rehab's gonna be a lot more. So I want my margin to be that much bigger. You know, maybe it's a little bit non-conforming. Maybe I'll do something with a little slimmer profit margin like the one I just did, because that's a nice square brick ranch at 8 Mile and Telegraph, full of a whole subdivision full of them. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's on a street called Burgess. I'll probably be up like next week. So like, it's the same consistent house through there. I mean, that's all they got in there. So I know what I can sell it for. You know, so that's why it seems slim, but it's really not when you get done with it. So I really analyze time frames and rehab and the actual property itself. Like there's nice square properties, and then there's crazy ones. You know, ones that sit way back on lots, ones that used to be a garage, ones that have additions that you know and didn't brew properly, floors that, you know, like are up and down. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that they're not uneven, but they added addition on and now they got to step down or step up, and it's just unusual. Yes.
When you talk about rehab, are you talking about like concentrating on the kitchen and bath and the painting?
It all depends per house.
Okay, so if you have a house and the kitchen is in decent shape, you know, it's decent.
Let me answer your question, because I know where you're going with this. He's saying that what would I do in rehabs? All right, that's what you're kind of asking me.
Yeah.
let's take the typical one again, okay? The one that's $100,000, I put 40 into it, I sell for 180. Okay, let's take that one, all right? With a $40,000 rehab, I'm definitely doing kitchen, bathrooms, floors, walls, all right? I'm doing landscaping on the outside. And then typically I'm doing, even in that rehab, maybe a roof or windows or a furnace or something additional to that, okay? I like those houses, I would say it's 30, just doing kitchen, baths, floors, walls. That's it. Kitchen, baths, floors, walls is 30. I'm usually doing something else. I'm usually doing a roof or windows or a furnace. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying one extra thing of that. You know, or it's electrical or it's plumbing or something. You know, so my typical rehab is just doing 1,000 square foot brick ranch, and I'm doing kitchen, bathroom, floors, walls, 30 grand. That's what it's going to cost me to do that. Go ahead.
How would you start off from scratch again? If you were to start over again from scratch, what would
All right, let's talk about me not having a dime, okay? All right, I don't have any money, and I was to start over again. All right, one, it's hard because like I know I got the knowledge, you know what I mean? But you're saying me, right?
a general person interested.
Okay, what, you want me to talk like I'm you?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not trying to put you down. Okay, so like, what have you done real estate wise?
No.
Okay, and you haven't done anything yet.
No.
All right. So what I would tell you to do is that to go through a lot of houses, okay? And what do you want to do is a question. What do you want to do in real estate?
Fix and flip.
You want to fix and flip?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm answering your question right. You want to go through a lot of houses, all right? Do you have the knowledge yet to know what's a good deal or not?
I believe so, yeah.
And how do you know that?
The ARV.
So you've been running numbers on things, right?
No, I haven't. but-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do this again. You want to go through a lot of houses,
Okay.
all right? What I would tell you to do is concentrate on one area that you know you're gonna get houses in, that you're kind of familiar with. Start there. Anything that's available out there, get through it. Do you have a real estate license?
No.
Okay, that's it. That's a plus and a minus. You know, there's pluses to it, there's minuses to it. The plus is you're calling a lot of agents, and with those agents that you call, you're gonna talk to them, and you're gonna say, "I buy houses." So you say to them, "Hey, look, I don't care about the commissions. Just want to buy houses. Tell me if you got a good deal for me. I want to look at it." And start looking at a lot of houses, because you're going to make the contacts with the realtors. You're going to look at a house and get familiar. You're going to do the exact same thing I do. You're going to run your ARVs before you get to the house. All right? So you actually know what it's going to sell for. All right? Here's the other thing that you're going to want to do is, do you know how to calculate out a rehab yet? Okay. Do you live in a house?
No, I don't.
Okay. I think I went over this last time, but I'm going to say it again. All right. You live in a house or don't live in a house?
No, I live in an apartment.
You live in an apartment? Do your parents have a house?
No.
Do you have a friend that has a house?
Yes.
All right. Is he a good friend?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, so what you may want to do is, does your friend want to do this too?
Yes.
Okay, that's even better. All right, so you go to your friend and say, "Hey, look, we need to learn how to get a rehab done. Let's start asking people to quote stuff at your house. Quote a roof, quote the electrical, quote new cabinets in, quote paint job, quote flooring. They got all this stuff in the house, right? Cement driveway, everything. Can you get it done for free? Free quotes, everybody does them. They'll love to do it. So you actually do two things by doing this. One, you're going to learn. Two, you're going to get contractors when you get your first house. Because you're going to meet people that you actually like and trust and can tell want to help you. And those could be your contractors that work on your house too as well. So that's how you learn how to do a rehab, all right? Is by those guys. So when you look at a house, you're like, I kind of get it now. The other things you could do is you could call up a home inspector. A lot of those guys know, you know, what it's going to cost. Say, hey, look, just run with me through these 3 houses, I'll pay you a couple bucks. And they might do it, you know what I mean? You know, if they're not busy. So there's a couple ways you can start figuring out what the rehab is. So now you looked at some houses, like I'm telling you to look at a lot too. Like you need to be looking at like, I would say 20 to 30 a week. Why not? Why not get yourself real familiar and ready to buy? That's what you want to do, right? Jump into it, okay? Then once you gain the knowledge that you know you can find a good deal on a house, and you know what the rehab is, then you gotta start asking for money. You gotta go to everybody that you possibly know and start asking for money. As soon as you get the money, get out there and get yourself a house. And when I say get the money, you wanna get somebody that's gonna lend you and only offer interest unless they can bring something else to the table. When I say something else to the table, money's just money. You're just gonna pay that person interest. But if it's the realtor that's helping you find the deal and they found the deal for you. So if they're bringing something to the deal, or like it's the contractor and he's not gonna charge you, I mean, and he's gonna lend the money too, and you just gotta find the deal. I mean, he's bringing something to the table, right? That's vitally important. You know, then you can cut them into the deal percentage-wise, but I would just pay out an interest rate percentage to anybody that just gives you money, all right? And that's hard work. And when I say prospect, when you get to that point, I'm talking about really prospecting and really asking a lot of people. The easiest person to ask is someone in your family that owns their house free and clear. The reason I say this is that then they can take out a home equity loan and you can help them do it. They get to write off the interest at the end of the year on the home equity loan. You could pay them extra of what that home equity loan payment is, and so they get a huge benefit. They write off the interest and you're paying them more. And if they know you, like you, and trust you, they'll give you the money. All right, so that's the next step. All right, so now you got really all the steps. Now, I can say this real easy and simple. It is easy and simple, the concepts. The work itself is difficult to do all this. It's not easy, it's work. Another reason to really get yourself prepared for the following day, every single day. All right, we're gonna go back to goals, okay? Most people have yearly goals in this room, right? All right? Everybody's got these yearly goals. And I always say that's great. But the problem is with yearly goals, somebody tell me what their yearly goal is. Michael, tell me what your yearly goal is.
This year was to do at least 3 flips this year.
Okay, all right. Can you tell me what you need to do on a daily basis to be able to do 3 flips?
Find the right deal.
How many hours do you have to spend calling people?
With my job, I gotta spend more time than I do.
Okay, Michael, this is really what you're trying to say is, I really don't know how to calculate that out into the time frame, right? You don't really know.
Right.
You know that you want to put more time into doing it because you're not getting the results that you want.
Right.
How do you meet a yearly goal where you can't make a decision on what to do that day to make that yearly goal? It's difficult, isn't it? Most people cannot answer that question properly, all right? And so I say, don't worry about your yearly goal. Worry about what you need to do tomorrow, every single day. Because if you can control that, I'm going to tell you, you are going to alleviate your goals. Like I used to do it all the time and I'm like, oh my God, I feel stupid. Because I would do it and go, okay, I want to do this next year. And I would be 5 months into it and I'd already do it. I mean, like, this is ridiculous. And I kept on doing it and I'm like, nope, I'm stopping doing it. This is ridiculous. I'm just going to worry about tomorrow. And that's what I keep on doing is just worry about keeping myself in a way that I can be productive for the following day, and I always make my goals. Right now I just got to float around in my head. I don't even have to write them down. You know, I just know what I want to accomplish, know what I need to do. And sometimes I don't even tell my employees because they'll think I'm a fruitcake because they don't think it's really accomplishable. Yes, Eddie?
All right, like in Michael's example of wanting to do 3 flips in the year, to just worry about tomorrow, would he need to have some idea of like how many people he's gonna have to prospect or whatever to do those 3 flips?
I've already said, how much time when you work do you need to prospect? What was the
80%.
percentage?
80%.
80%.
Okay, that's all you need to worry about. Whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is. But you have to prepare it. You just can't go, I'm just going to do it. No. That whole list with all those names and numbers on it is me contacting people that can give me houses all day long. In addition to the people that call me that day. And the addition of a calling for all the feedback. I'm doing exactly what I'm saying. All right? This isn't like a concept, like a lot of people go, oh man, that sounds good. I don't think that guy does that. How many times have you gone to a speech and you know that that person probably has not done that? And it's just a concept. And they're just giving you concepts. This ain't it. This is what I do on a daily basis. I'm telling you exactly what I do. It's not like a guessing game here. I am prospecting 80% of my day. And I kick ass. I flip a lot of houses, I make a lot of money. Go ahead, I've been keeping you for a while.
When you price out a rehab and say $40,000, that's including the roof. I've been checking out roofing prices. They're going like $14,000 to $20,000.
It depends on what house. So I was talking about 1,000 square foot brick range.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just giving you my a very typical house. All right. You know, obviously if it's got like different levels or a higher pitched roof, it's got 3 stories. You know, like you gotta do something different with that. You know what I mean?
You basically talk about the starter home, which is.
Yeah. I was doing something that's very basic so I can just explain what a basic normal house is. Because I mean, I can get wild upside down and backwards forward if I could do a whole thing on rehabs one time. You know, go ahead.
What were some mistakes you made in your flipping career? How did you overcome them?
Oh man, I still make them today. One problem that, like, it sounds ridiculous, but it is my problem, is that I set up so many good business systems that my employees can't keep up with it. That's probably my worst one that I have, where I am so good at what I do and prepare myself so well that I get so many people coming to me that my employees can't keep up with my productivity. But getting into normal mistakes is just your numbers. Numbers are probably the most important thing. And if you make a mistake on your numbers, it's not gonna end up good for you at the end. You know, the other things are too is like rehabbers. Luckily, I do not have those problems with rehabbers as like you guys probably would have, is because they know that I'm that guy that can give them rehab after rehab, and they've been searching for me for a long time, that I'm very organized, pay on time, have a very standardized rehab, and I have a project manager that helps them problem solve to get their rehab done. So what I have for rehabs is I have a project manager, okay? And that project manager goes to a project manager per house. So they sub everything out. So my project manager gives them the budget, and so on and so forth. So the rehabs are always very challenging. Because if you haven't done a lot of rehabs, can you get taken advantage of? Like real easy too, right? Right? Like with me, they don't want to do that because they can get house after house after house after house. Plus, they know if they can't cut it with me, that it's not going to be good for them either. You know, because like, because I've had other people too, they're like, I use this guy, and I go, he didn't cut it with me. And then you get real nervous, right? You get real scared, right?
Yeah.
You know, so then they're very hesitant on using that person. So getting a person to do a good rehab now, I do a lot through the MLS sometimes in hiring people with like, you know, doing a rehab. Say for example, I get something down in Monroe, and I just don't do a lot in Monroe. And so like I maybe do like a property like one a year, okay? Let's say all my contractors are so busy they just can't go to that one in Monroe, it's too far out of their way. I'll go through the MLS, and I think I stated this the last meeting too as well. is that I'll hit through the MLS and find a person that, you know, flipped a house, call up the agent, go, hey agent, what did you think about that rehab? Oh man, that guy was great. Oh man, that sounds good. Do you think they're interested in doing another rehab? Yeah, they're interested in doing another one. Could I get their contact? Now, what's good about that is I've already looked at their pictures because I can kind of see the rehab, right? All right. I got the agent said it was good. That's good too as well, because agents like ripping rehabbers apart upside down and backwards and forwards. Is there any realtors in this room? All right. If you see a bad rehab, are you going to tell the agent the rehab was bad?
Yeah.
Of course you are. If I called you up and they said, hey, look, I saw a listing of, you know, hey, you had this house all redone and everything, and it wasn't like your husband or your brother, you know what I mean? And would you tell me if the rehab was good or not? And be honest with me.
I'm gonna tell you it's bad.
Yeah.
What's bad about it?
Yeah. So you're gonna know from the realtor, you know, hey, it was bad, good, or otherwise. You know what I mean? So that's a good way for me to get a guy that, you know, hey, did he do the entire house? Oh, he did. Okay, good. You know, it wasn't subbed out by the owner? Okay, good. So, oh man, we got another birthday, Eddie. This is the second one in a row, he said. Okay, great. You gonna give me a piece of cake? All right. So, yeah, that's one of the things I could see that would be problemsome, is doing that. But if you really ask somebody about like somebody else's rehab or see a house that's done, ask a lot of questions, you're going to probably do a lot better if you just say, oh yeah, this guy said he was good. You want to see his work. You want to ask a realtor that sold this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, ask the person they did it for. You know what I mean? Like, you want to ask all those people before you even think about hiring somebody, especially if they're doing the entire job, because you're giving them a nice chunk of money then. Hey, to start this rehab, this $40,000 rehab, 10 grand. And if they run with your 10 grand, are you going to cry? You're going to cry. Yeah. And the other thing is that you want to state that, look, I'm taking this serious. You know, if you do a good job here, you know, that I'm willing to give you another one. You know, so let's hope we can establish a relationship and get it going. But, you know, having the consistency, and Michael Black has that problem right now. This gentleman right here, no white shirt, good looking guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's hard to have that consistency of having always a rehab ready to have that contractor ready when that rehab's ready. I don't necessarily have that problem, so I can keep these guys busy. You know, it's a lot of work to get where I was, but you know, I mean, now I can keep those guys there, the good guys there. They don't go nowhere else, and they don't want to go anywhere else. So that's kind of the issues that you're going to have, you know. But anybody else have any more questions for me? Go ahead.
Are you taking applications to be your driver?
What do you want to do?
Drive you around.
What do you really want to do?
Shadow.
I want to see how you structure your day.
Well, if you want to be my driver, it's like a real job. Like, so I'm not hiring anybody unless it's like you're gonna work with me for 6 months or more. So, I mean, you'd be stuck with me, and I'm crazy as hell. I'm sure you could tell already, right? Slightly, a little bit.
You seem normal.
Yeah. What was that?
I said you seem normal.
I'm not. I'm just letting you know that I got craziness going on at all times. You know, so. But yeah, I mean, my driver is getting a real estate license right now, and so he's going to be getting into the business, helping me find houses. So I will need a real driver, but I'm talking about a real driver. You know, not something like temporarily. Hey, just come along with me for a day or so. That would drive me batty. Sir, do you have a question?
I have a question. Have you bought your one property in Monroe yet this year?
I'm doing one in like I just got an offer on it today. It's in French Township, which is real close to Monroe. It's like around one like there. Why you got one in Monroe?
Somebody sent me.
Yeah, I'm not really looking to go to Monroe right now. Yeah. But I appreciate it. Go ahead, sir.
So how many employees do you have? It sounds like you have a project manager, a driver, and an assistant maybe, and anything else other than contractors?
I have 15 employees. I have a lady that just gets all my deals closed. All right, so anything that I'm buying or anything that I'm selling, she gets them all closed for me. Okay, so typically on her plate, she usually has 40 to 60 deals always, okay, that she has to close out. I have another lady that puts my deals together. So when I have like a wholesaler, a realtor, you know, she puts all the contracts together for me and then gives it to the closing person, okay? So I have that person too as well. I have a person that runs my management company and all my rentals. So she just takes care of that. She does like a lot of the billing, things like that too as well. I have another person that oversees like my entire management company. And then I have a guy that oversees all of that. And he basically is like my cash flow guy. So paying all the employees, taking care of all the employees, which Michael Black is Dave.
Dave.
Yep, Dave. And so he just makes sure everything functions inside the office with the employees and the payments and paying all the contractors. So I have him, and he's probably my most key employee that I have.
Yeah.
All right. And then I have the project manager that I stated. And then I have a couple guys that work with my project manager that are kind of guys that will do all the odds and ends of the houses, like after home inspections, if that contractor is too busy on all the other houses, they'll do all the odds and ends. You know, they just do a lot of work with my project manager to get these houses done, to get them finished, to do all the odd and ends projects to all these houses all over the place. Like, and they save me a lot of money too, because like they'll do some like, you know, putting beams in basements where I'd have to pay a guy like $2,500 to put in the 2 or 3 beams, and they just do it for me for like $1,500, you know.
Have you been working with your contractors for years? How did you come to pick your contractors? What do you look for?
Oh man, I've done like 2,500 houses with my project manager. Yeah, so getting into employees, like I say, I could probably spend a whole entire hour session easy just with employees. It's based upon hiring and hiring until you get the right person. It's about looking at yourself every time that fails and seeing what you can do different to make sure it doesn't fail again. And it's just it's usually getting the right person and you having the right structure. And it's probably in the opposite order. It's probably having the right structure and getting the right person. So you have to have these things lined up, and you have to do a lot of firing and hiring. Once you get the structure really good, and you know it's good, and you have an understanding of what that employee is supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it, typically it takes no more than 2 weeks to figure out if that person can cut it or not. The problem is, do you have the right structure to know? Usually that's the problem where I always say it's the employee's fault because they don't have that structure there. And if you're looking to hire like your first employee, I would strongly suggest that you work along with them. Most people, and I'm talking specifically about agents, and you're an agent, is that the failure usually is that you don't work side by side with them. Most agents that are the hotshot ones that talk like this, all these employees are horrible, they're bad, and they can't, it's because they never spend any time with them. And they're just reeling off stuff to them on what to do, but not how to do it, how they want them to do it, because they're not organized enough to do that. And that's why it always fails, and that's why they say, well, I'm just not gonna have any employees and never have one. There's no way to grow.
So can I give you an example? I had a gentleman who did some doors for me, and he did polyurethane to, they were wood doors, and I wanted the polyurethane done. So I sat there with him while he did the polyurethane on the doors, right? So would you consider that kind of working side by side, watching him do his work, making sure it's at the quality level that I'm looking for, and then assessing what that actual work should be paid.
Yeah, so you're saying work directly along with your contractors? The
Not
problem is.
necessarily work directly with.
Yeah, directly with them to watch them and oversee what they're doing.
You just maybe initially to see what you're looking for and what kind of work you're looking for, and then assessing what that job should pay.
I mean, it's a very hard question because like everything's different. I mean, when you're working with anybody that's a contractor in a house, the better understanding that you have and the more knowledge that you have will make it much easier to work with them.
Okay.
Yeah, so the more you can gain in knowledge, it's just easier.
Okay.
You know, like when I go through a house and I go through with a brand new contractor, which I rarely do because it's usually my project manager and I just hand them off. But every once in a while I'll just, you know, because they just have a nice relationship with them and, you know, they want me to do it first with them, is that they really know that I have a deep understanding of what's really going on and what it should cost and how you should do it. Like most of them are blown away because they're like, wow, you're telling me things that I can learn about and I'm supposed to be the expert of this. So they know right away that this is not the type of guy that we could take advantage of necessarily. And I just have that kind of experience. So luckily I can figure out things. I'm a good problem solver and they know very quickly. Like I had this one guy, he's probably done about like, say 20 houses. And I went through with him and I'm like, let me help you lay out this house. And I laid it out for him. He's like, oh my gosh, no one's ever done this before with me. I always have to do it myself and you just did the whole thing. I tried to do it with Michael Black, but he didn't listen to me, man. But yes.
So you actually did work along with your contractor?
Yeah, at one point, yeah.
Okay.
At one point I subbed everything out.
So you subbed everything out, you kind of knew what should be paid prior to the work being done?
Well, in the beginning, you just kind of jump into it and hope for the best.
In the end of the work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just jumped into it. I'm the type of person that just jumps into something
Okay.
and figures it out.
Okay.
Because I just want to do it so bad. You know, which I don't recommend 100% because you really should research and talk to people. And me, I'm just like, let's get this done. Let's go. You know what I mean? And I was doing things kind of quickly. And luckily, I just had enough persistence and enough knowledge to learn quick enough to not make big mistakes. Yeah, just from my knowledge, I'm going to be like, I know I can get this roof done all day for 6. You know, what are you doing for me that's maybe extra or something like that? Or how about this? Like, I can give you another 20 roofs. Do you think you can get it done for 6 and kind of go for there and not put like, hey, you're trying to screw me. You know, just say, hey, look at, you know, I understand, you know, but you got to look at the big picture here. If you want to do more roofs, I can give you more roofs and maybe your profit margins are smaller, but at least you'll have consistent work. Do you need work like that? Some people don't need work like that. And so like, they might not be the right contractor for me. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that anymore because I have a project manager and they got their project manager working on that. And we have a budget, so they got to stay within the budget. So I can't recommend on people because they can't barely keep up with what I'm doing. Yeah, so it makes it very challenging, you know. So yeah, I would say no, I don't, because I just can't even afford to. Like if I did that, my project manager would like want to slip my wrist. You know what I mean? Like he'd be like, "What are you doing to me? You know, how are you gonna get your own houses done? You're making my life difficult." So I wish I could. If you catch me at a certain time that I don't have a lot going on, which is going to be like almost never because I just can't stop myself from buying houses. So you know, I could say yes, absolutely. I mean, and that's why I would say to ask them a lot of questions, ask what houses they did, ask the people about, you know what I mean? I would ask a lot. Like that's why I say even going through the MLS like I'm doing, I already asked a lot of questions before I even call them. Before I even call them up. You know, and it's always good to get somebody where you don't necessarily have to sub it either. Subbing is very, very difficult and challenging. Now, I would recommend doing your first ones, probably doing that, because you're just gonna learn a ton. You're gonna learn a lot. And it doesn't hurt to learn, but the amount of time and energy you have to spend on doing that in a complete house, super challenging. But I would recommend everybody do it if you're gonna flip a house, because the knowledge you're gonna gain from it is you're always gonna use it throughout your own flipping career. The question is how do you get a contractor to meet a certain time frame? You know, or be careful of making sure that they work in a certain time frame so they don't take too long. So, I mean, it's a lot of communication. It's like, hey, can you stay on this job? Can you really get it done? How about, I hold back X amount of dollars. If you get it done at this, it's this. If you get it done before it, it's this. If you get it done after this, then it's just your normal price. And incentivize, like what you're doing. I just came up with a new word right there.
Performance.
Yeah, so I mean, you could try doing that, but it's a lot of thinking, and that's something else I do at night too, is when I'm doing that list, I just do a lot of thinking too as well. I do a lot of thinking about the actual, my business. Like a lot of people, what they do is they give themselves an avenue to make money, but they never act like a business owner. They just gave themselves a job. And so they're just constantly working at that job because they gave it to them. And yes, it's way better than being employed by somebody else. And I failed a ton in many different ways. And the bad part was that my brokerage didn't allow me to hire assistants. We're talking about in the 90s. It's not like it is now where they just want you to do more and more business and get as many employees as you want, and it's fine. My brokerage wouldn't allow me to have employees, and especially because I was so young too. I think it actually scared them. You know what I mean? This young guy in his 20s, he's doing all these transactions, he's running around the office like crazy, and he's just selling a lot of houses. I don't know if I could trust this kid. You know what I mean? Like my manager actually was dating one of these top producer type agents, listing and selling agents. And she was like a big time producing agent, and she had, a couple employees, and I was like, why can she have it? And I can't. And I'm not that right person to say no to, by no means. Even if I wanted to do something and you told me to do it, just because you told me to do it, I still probably wouldn't do it, even though I wanted to do it originally. Just because I didn't want anybody to control me. And so that was a big problem I had at my first brokerage, is it was very hard for me to even get employees. So really I blossomed after I switched brokerages. I went to Keller Williams in 2003, after working, 8 years at a Century 21 that was too challenging to hire employees, and I was getting to a point where I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't work any longer, or stay up any longer, or work any harder. And I just couldn't do it, and I needed help, and so Keller Williams gave me that freedom to do that. And then once I started doing that, then I was able to sell 50 houses more per year for 9 years straight until I quit Keller Williams. So I was going from the first year I started at Keller Williams, I sold 100 houses, and then every year after that I sold 50 up to about almost 460. And I just did it with employees. That wasn't like other agents selling for me. I did all that myself, just with a whole bunch of employees. So talk about knowing about employees and having a lot of them, and I know about it upside down and backwards and forwards, and like I say, I could probably teach a whole entire class about employees. All right, what do you think about a person that is getting hard money loan for? All right, so they're getting money from a hard money lender. What do I think about that? I always tell them that you can go to them, but I'd rather you not. And I'll tell you the reason why. Is that if the deal's good enough, they're gonna lend on it, no matter what. But there's gonna be a certain point where they might not have money. There's gonna be a certain point where they'll only do X amount of properties at one time. They can control your destiny if you don't. Let's say you're doing 3, and you call them up and say, I want to do a 4th, and they're like, oh man, we really want to get the money back on these, and we want to spread it out to other people, and we don't want to keep, just giving one person, and they can say whatever they want to say, right? They can say no to you for whatever reason, and what can you do at that point? And you might have the deal all locked up and you just thought it was just gonna happen because they've always done it before and they could say no. Same with a normal bank, they could just say no, you can't do that, man. That's why I go out there and I find individuals that want to lend to me because I control my own destiny then. If I want to find more money, I'm finding it. And there's no one that's going to stop me then. And that's the reason why I do it that way. So it's not that it's wrong, it's that, one, I like doing things on a big scale. And by doing that, there's no lender that's going to be able to keep up with me. They're going to say no real fast. They're going to be like, this is crazy what you're doing, and I don't feel comfortable. But I know I can do it. They just don't believe that a person can do that many. You know, even if I showed them, they still wouldn't believe it. They think I was putting on some kind of show. You know, it doesn't matter. So I do it because I control my own destiny. I control my own interest rates. Like when I first started getting private money, I did it at 16%. Now my average money is 8.5%. You're probably asking, how'd you do that, right? How do you get it down so low? Because it's real easy. Because when I had it at 16%, I found some guy that would do it at 14. And eventually, I didn't need that guy 16% money anymore because I kept on finding people at 14. So I go back to the guy at 16 and go, hey, look, I can't pay you 16% anymore, but you know me, like me, and trust me, we do 14? He's like, okay, I'll do 14. Who controlled that now? Me. Because I went out there and I did the work. And now I got it all the way down to 8.5%, which is almost next to impossible unless they're like a relative. And I don't pay any points, guys. No points. I control my own destiny. And I worked hard enough to keep on whittling that down. And I got the same people that I paid 16 are the same people I paid people at 9. That's why it's like, it's usually at 8 if you're under $500,000. And if you got more than $500,000, it's 9. But I'm paying the same people I paid 16, I'm paying 9. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Yeah. But because I can utilize all their money in one place, and it makes it simple and easier for them to run around and give it to 5 other investors that they're not sure about and might not be able to circulate their money back out. It's a lot easier dealing with me because they never get their money back. I can keep on utilizing it, and I also roll it in. So let's take this for example, so you kind of understand. Let's say, for example, I have somebody borrow me money, 100 grand, all right? And we say that 100 grand, I got it out there for 6 months, I get paid 8%. Guys, tell me what the interest is real quick, come on, tell me. It's $4,000 for 6 months, this is annual, okay? So $4,000, they don't want their money back. Okay, next time they're lending me 104, right? So now they're getting interest on the interest that they just got on that 4 grand, so they get a little bit more. And it really starts adding up if you got it in there for a decade or so. Yeah, because that interest that you got interest bearing on in like 10 years, you might be able to double your amount of money just off of that. Yeah, so that's a nice investment for them. You know, so that's why I like not using hard money lenders, is because then I can control it and I can get as much money as I want without somebody stopping me. The question was how did I find the money in the beginning? Is that I listed so much real estate, I had all this clientele of people that know me, like me, and trust me. So it was real easy for me to go to them and get the money from them. Because they knew, like I'm the one that supplied their houses, and they knew I was good at it. So when I said I needed it, they were like, okay, we'll give it to this guy. He knows what he's doing. You know, for somebody that's a brand new person, challenging. Super challenging. But you gotta sell them on the fact that you do know what you're doing. And that's why I tell you, look at a lot of houses. Make sure you know your rehabs. Because the last thing you wanna do is mess up somebody else's life by not being able to pay them back. Yeah. And how you think that looks? Especially as a family member. You think you're getting money from anybody in the family ever again? And I'm gonna tell you, like, especially my controller's family, Like the guy, Dave, in my office, he's got like every single relative known to man lending us money. And I got like the whole Syrian mafia lending me money. I'm just joking. They're just from Syria. But yeah, all their family members and everybody, lend me money. So there's no mafia in Syria, by the way. No camera dealers. Yeah. Go ahead, Eddie.
Roughly what percent of your houses come from the MLS versus wholesalers?
Wholesalers is like 90%.
What was the question?
The question was, what is the percentage I get from the MLS? And my percentage is like 10%, and the rest come from wholesalers.
When you started off, should you just prioritize finding wholesalers or should you work the MLS?
If you need houses, you do whatever you can to the people that have houses. Whether it be wholesalers, agents, it's about the amount of contacts and it's 80% of your workday. So you can see the amount of work that is. Like, say you're a hard worker, you work 10 hours a day, right? 8 hours of contacts, non-stop. Keep doing it. But first, know that you know a deal. Know that you got the money for the deal. Because it's going to be no good if you go into a wholesaler and say, yeah, I can do this deal, it's good, oh my gosh, this is great, and you just don't have the money for it. It's no good. Alright, I think I'm going to wrap this up, guys. Did I do okay?
Yes.
Alright. I got Joey. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We have been hosting meetings, real estate meetings, free with a different speaker on a different subject or a different area of real estate investing for a little over 2 years now. It's always been the third Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock, always free. This is our first month here at Nicola's. Hopefully we will be back here again next month, but one way to ensure that we are back next month is next month when everyone comes, hopefully everyone will spend some money. Nicola's is allowing us to use this place for free. So again, we need to let our hosts know that we appreciate them and it's worth their while to give us this room for free. So again, third Tuesday of every month, 7 o'clock. If any of you have any questions about the meeting, anything like that, you can always feel free to give me a text, 248-252-4114, Eddie Williams, 248-252-4114. Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you next month.